Tim and Jody were kind enough to remind me about the microphone on Thursday night. I explained to Tim the reason I did that is I wanted everybody to experience what hearing impaired felt like, but I didn't. I just use that as an excuse. I don't want to repeat myself from Thursday night, but I did want to start out by reminding everybody that I returned home from Vietnam in February of 1969. And unlike most of you, I'm assuming that most of you went over with a unit. I went over as an individual, just a bunch of servicemen in a Continental Airlines jet, and we came home the same way. Didn't know a soul on a plane. It makes it a little tough because everybody was rotating at different times. It made it a little tough to develop a relationship with battle buddies. You know, so it's an excuse. But I served with 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. We were located about 15 miles from Da Nang. It was our job to stop the NVA that were coming from the north, and they were coming through Laos over the mountains and into South Vietnam. And this area was also referred to as the Rocket Belt because they had a propensity to want to blow up the airfields in Da Nang, and it was our job to stop them. So they kept us pretty busy. I talked Thursday night, and I'm not going to repeat it, but losing my hearing. But it was definitely not only a physical experience or emotion, but it was also I got a concussion. That's what the VA finally turned it into or re-diagnosed it as a traumatic brain injury. But more importantly, there was a kid an 18-year-old kid that had been in Vietnam for about 10 days. I took the direct hit. All I got was the concussion of the round. So it was an issue for me. I don't think that was a very painful experience, but I don't think it was as painful as it was as coming home, but back into the United States was. I didn't have any expectations of having this large parade or anything like my father did when he returned from World War II. I did expect some sort of gratitude for serving my country, but I didn't get it. I started noticing the hostility right away when I was discharged in California and went to LAX to return back to Minneapolis. There were protesters all over the place, but they were behind barricades. We're not used to that because they don't stay behind barricades anymore. But they were yelling at us and spitting at us. And I said at us, not on us, because I can tell you that I'd probably still be in a prison in California if anybody had spit on me. I tried to when I got home, I tried to get used to civilian life, and that was a real task. I noticed a lot of hostile people that just had a real indifferent attitude about us. So I became really aware of what was going on. I went to a local VFW club. Oh, I don't know, I'd been home about 2 weeks, and I went to a VFW club, and I was so excited about it. And I was told that I couldn't join because I hadn't been in a real war. That was a little disheartening. And obviously that's changed because a lot of us are members of the VFW now. So, that's changed. So I started to withdraw from a lot of people. My PTSD was kicking in just crazily. And people would come up to me and ask me, hey, what was Vietnam like? And I knew they didn't really want to know that I still had friends in Vietnam that were dying, or that there were still young men that were signing their name, their name and putting their life on the line for an ungrateful country. So when people asked me that question, what was Vietnam like, I would reply, the skiing was really shitty. Can I say that? I'm sorry. People would actually just nod and walk away. You know, it was like, okay, you know, and they just walk away with it. And And it was just like people asking, how are you? Most of the time they really didn't want to know that I hadn't slept for 3 days. I considered suicide twice, and I had just lost my job because I called the owner of the company an ignorant SOB. So, I had the issues that I knew that people didn't really want to hear about, but I was surviving, and I plundered forward. I got a job, and I got married to Bonnie. The best thing I could have done. Through my experience through the reunion and CreatiVets, and CreatiVets introduced me to Country Music Hall of Fame, I had an opportunity to write or co-write it was the third song in my shortened career, but it was, the name of it was God's Angel. And I have to say that she was 54 years ago, and she still is God's Angel. Now we started surviving together. But I want to fast forward to 1984. I went to the dedication of the Vietnam statue in Washington, D.C. And not the memorial, but not the wall, but the statue that stands right near it. And I don't, and I haven't slept very well for 50-some years, but I got up about 5 o'clock in the morning and I walked down to the wall. And that was when you could still have, and I don't know how many of you have ever been to the wall, but that was when you could still have access to the top of the wall. So I was sitting right at the top, at the apex on the wall, and I was talking to some of the names that were familiar, that were etched in it. So it was starting to get light out, and I had a Marine Corps sweatshirt on, and a guy with a Marine Corps t-shirt on walked out and put his hand out to me and shook my hand and said, "Welcome home, Marine." And we talked, for where we were from and when we were in Nam and who we were with and a whole bunch of questions. We talked for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And then he went walking down the wall. And when he left, I felt this, like I had experienced something that I couldn't explain. I knew something had happened and I couldn't figure it out. Then I realized it was 1984. I had been home from Vietnam for 15 years, and that was the first time anybody ever said welcome home. So, it was a pretty emotional experience, believe me, when I realized what had hit me. My family, and I mentioned that on Thursday, my family hadn't even welcomed me home. And I found out later, after we wrote the song, Welcome Home, I sent it to my sister, and she called me crying and apologizing. She said, just before I came home, my mother had told her, whatever you do, her and my brother-in-law, whatever you do, don't say anything about Vietnam. Don't talk about war, don't bring anything up. So it was like, I went to the grocery store and I came back 12 months and 5 days later. It was just, hey, how you doing? But the reason was that my dad, who had died in his early 40s, had come home from World War II, and he had landed in Normandy Beach, and he would never speak to my mother or any of us about his experience in war. And she thought that's how a family that loved their veteran respected them, was just let them live with it in their mind, I guess. So it was pretty painful, but it was, at least I found out that there was because I brought it up, there was an explanation for it. It wasn't that they thought I was at the grocery store. So, but I went on with my life. Bonnie and I had 3 beautiful daughters, and through a lot of turmoil, we survived. Then 9/11 happened. And there was a new attitude in the country. And I started to hear people say, thank you for your service. The news media were recognizing and congratulating veterans for what they had done for their country. And even politicians spoke highly of veterans. And I don't know if you can see, but you see how the change in their country warmed the hearts of Vietnam vets. We weren't jealous about it. We were thankful that the nation had finally come to their senses. And it started and allowed the birth of organizations like Tee It Up for the Troops and CreatiVets and Fisher House and Warrior Journey and so many more that I can't answer them all, or mention them all. But I was just ecstatic with the new patriotism, and I jumped on the bandwagon with both feet. Scott Mann, Thursday night, when he was talking about his book, and Scott brought it up when he was talking about the issue of how we left Afghanistan. And it made me start thinking that I'm concerned that our society is going in a cycle. First of all, the politicians immediately started trying to justify why they pulled out of Afghanistan the way they did, and unfortunately the news media followed up and backed them up on television. So I just want to emphasize that we can't ever let that happen again. And the only advice I can give you is as veterans, never forget the other veterans. Remember their families that are left home while they're being deployed. I survived, we survived, and you will too, as long as you just keep remembering. And welcome home. Thank you. I'd like to take time to recognize some people, and I'd like to recognize the 13 spouses and significant other caregivers that are here this weekend. You've heard this several times over the last 3 days, but it's the 8th year that the significant others and spouses have been invited. And these hidden heroes are getting stronger than ever, and I hope that they continue because they have a big task at hand dealing with the veterans. So, on behalf of Tee It Up for the Troop, I'd also like to recognize and thank the facilitators for the breakout sessions, Patty Cater and Kevin McDonald. I'd like to thank them for their help and guidance throughout the week. Know what you've learned from these two will be with you throughout your journey, I think. And take it from someone who knows. If you don't understand it at the time, if you didn't understand it during the breakout session, I can pretty much guarantee you that it will come clear in your mind when you need it the most. So, Patty and Kevin, thank you very much for doing that. Next, I'd like to call forward Paul Anderson. Paul is a former board member and president and executive director of Tee It Up for the Troops. Paul?
All right, this is the danger in having me doing this, because I'm just going to say a couple thank yous and recognize a few people. One, again, Ron and Janet, thank you for sponsoring tonight. I also want to recognize all the board members that came down here, because I think this is by far a record for those that attended, and that means a lot, because their support for this event on a regular basis, thank you, their support on this event on a regular basis is critical. The work that the whole team does is significant. You know, because of the communication that happens, but you know, for Tim and the team, I said this last year, I am so proud of the organization and how it continues to grow and thrive and survive. Many of you know how hard it is for nonprofits to succeed in this environment. So I just want to offer a toast. There's going to be a lot of thanks. I also want to recognize Jody, who in my time, it was really the two of us for most of my time as president. She had my 6 more than she should have. So I just want to raise a glass to the Tee It Up for the Troops group. Tee It Up for the Troops. I also want to thank Kenny and Jake for, I think Jake slipped out, but for putting up with us the last 2 days. All right, guys. Yeah, there he is. Your back hurt from carrying us? All right, so Many of you can appreciate the Reader Open, but I'm going to give a little history. So back in 2013, Kevin Burke, who, if you experienced the love that Kevin Burke, who was the GM of Reunion, had for this organization and this event in particular, he was very, very special. And back in 2013, we were looking for, in the second year, and I think DeWitt and maybe Ski and a couple others might have been here for that first Warrior Shootout. We were trying to figure out, okay, how do we enhance this? How do we bring this to the next level? How do we have an opportunity for competition? Because we know the Warriors, they like competition. So we came up with the shootout. And it became one of the best parts of Reunion. We really had no idea how much fun this event would be. The competition, the betting on the sides, the drinks, I mean, there's a few drinks, and how much, again, the wagering that went on through the years. It quickly became one of the favorite events of Reunion. And in 2015, the name was changed to the Reader Cup Warrior Shootout in honor of Doc Mike Reader. And if any of you remember Doc, Vietnam War veteran, he lost his battle with brain cancer on October 24th, 2014 at the age of 66. Mike and his wife Debbie were dear, dear friends and teed up for the troops and loved this organization and loved this event. If you were here in those first couple of years that Mike was here, he positioned himself on number 2 on Palmer or number 7 on Watson. And he had a special wheelchair. He'd pin himself down, and he would basically take everybody on. And not many people beat Mike. Just an incredible, incredible man. So Mike was a Navy corpsman who, after 2 weeks into his deployment in Vietnam, was grazed by a bullet to the neck, Purple Heart in hand. The wound wasn't serious enough to send him home at the time, but he couldn't wait to get back to his unit. Just a couple months later, Mike survived a traumatic explosion, early in which he left him as a double amputee. A recipient of the Bronze Star and Purple Heart, Mike never let his injuries slow him down or back away from a little competition. In his 20 years of playing golf, swinging from his self-designed wheelchair, Mike shot par on a round, actual par on a round from a wheelchair, made a hole-in-one, and had a golf handicap of less than 10.
Wow.
Many in this room can relate to that. And one story about Mike that we love to tell is about his trip to Scotland, where he first became the first wheelchair golfer to complete a round at the Old Course at St. Andrews. As the story goes, word spread in the town of a guy golfing from a wheelchair, and everybody kind of came from their work, came from their houses, and just kind of filled the fairways behind him and followed him in on his back nine. He shot a round at 79 on the Old Course.
Wow.
It's an amazing achievement that garnered admiration from the Golden Bear himself. The round was featured on an ESPN E60 back in 2011 titled Dead Solid Perfect Wheelchair Golf at St. Andrews. I've been trying with ESPN to get a copy of this. It's not available online. It's really, if you haven't seen it, it's remarkable. So it's been our honor to host the annual Reader Cup Warrior Shootout for the past 10 years. The event has had 7 different winners, some of whom I'm sure you might recognize. The list includes, in 2013, sorry DeWitt, man, you gave it hell that first year. Mike the Hammer Stafford. 2014, Chris McCoy. 2015, Bruce McKenty. 2017, Steve Winningham. 2016, 2018, and 2019, Matt Anderson. 2020 was Scotty Adams. 2022 was Chris Burgess. And 2023 was our own Jake Reader. Yeah. And if you were out on the courts yesterday, that had to have been one of the best competitions we've ever seen. So please join me in a round of applause for this year's winner, Eli Villanueva.
I just want to, I want to thank Teed Up for the Troops for giving me the opportunity to do this and pay back for the experience that I had last year at this tournament. But now I'd like to call forward Brett Gillen, the Program Director for CreatiVets. Teed Up for the Troops has been a proud supporter of CreatiVets since its inception. And since being introduced to CreatiVets last year, about almost exactly a year ago, I'm just honored to be able to support them and represent them as a mentor for other veterans so that they can tell their stories. The ingenuity, the creativeness, the talent, and the kindness you're about to experience is just mind-blowing. I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Brett Gillen. And their incredible, talented singers and songwriters.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brett Gillen. I'm the Program Director for CreatiVets. CreatiVets was founded in 2013 to empower wounded veterans to heal through the arts and music. But it really started back in 2008 when our co-founder Richard Casper came home from war. Richard served as a Marine in Iraq and within 4 short months was declared unfit for duty because he got hit by 4 separate IEDs and his best friend was shot and died in his arms. So he came back a different person than he was before war. Before war, he was kind of the class clown and prom king. And after war, he was antisocial and suicidal and didn't know why. And there weren't really any transition programs back in 2008. So he ended up finding art and music and healing himself. So he founded CreatiVets to give other veterans the option to heal through the arts. So we have so many programs that I don't really want to get into them too much. If you have questions about them, feel free to ask me. But instead of telling you about them, I think it's best to just show you, because we had a couple veterans yesterday write with some songwriters that I brought down. So I'd like to invite up Elmer and Angel if you guys want to say a few words. Give it up.
Well, what a week, right? I got some notes. 99% of the time I don't follow them, so but I'm gonna try. I was asked to say a few words about us and our story, so right here, my right hand, right? So Angel and I deployed in 2004 in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. We were assigned to the 16th MP Brigade. I was the company commander of the 301st MP Company, and we were assigned to support detainee operations. So we were assigned to the Abu Ghraib prison. I think everybody's familiarized with them. And I was the commander that replaced the unit that did all those nasty stuff. So, Angel?
Yeah, let me go. First of all, thank you to Teed Up for letting me be here this weekend with my wife, my brother Emmer and his wife. And second, and not less important, it's an honor for me to be around so many warriors. So thank you guys for your service. I want to go back a little bit, before we went to Iraq. We met around 1999, 98. I was an NCO. He was a first lieutenant, came to a unit. And sometimes you met people and you click right away. So that's what happened to us. Even though we were in different platoons, I don't know why, but we connect right there, and our friendship start growing up all the way up. So when we went to Iraq, it was hard. We got hit like every single day, mortars, IEDs, everything. You name it, we got hit by that. And like 3 weeks before we were getting ready to come back home, like 3 weeks before, we got a nasty mortar attack. And I was with Elmer at his room. I left, I went to the gym, I heard a big explosion. When I came back, somebody told me that he got hit. And he was carried to the hospital. Next day, I had to go to the hospital. Sorry, guys. Saw my friend on the bed, all kind of hoses, cold. He was in coma. And I had to carry him with a bunch of other soldiers and put it in a Black Hawk, not knowing if that was the last time I see my brother alive.
So that was in 18 October 2004, almost 20 years this year. I was walking to the showers. Unfortunately, I was not wearing my vest. I was maybe a little bit complacent, 3 weeks, about to go home. And we were hit with shrapnel. I don't remember anything else, but right after Angel put me in that house, in that shopper, he went back to the computer room that we had to send emails back home, and he started sending me emails every day. And he took it upon himself to keep me on track and informed of what was going on back at the unit. He understood how important it was for me to know that everybody was taken care of. As a good NCO, putting soldiers first, he did it very well. And the first email that he sent me, and I still have them, he said, today was the worst day of my life. I'm sending you in the shopper, not knowing if I'm gonna see you again. The second email was a little bit in the funny side, because I don't know if you guys remember, but that year, the Yankees were playing the Red Sox for the American League Championship. And we are both Yankees fans, so you guys know what happened. The Boston went on and beat the Yankees and then won the World Series. After that, I know, right? It's not fun. He kept on sending me emails in terms of how the unit was doing. I couldn't read them because I was in a coma for 5 days. When I woke up, I went through, I think everybody kind of followed the same path. I went to Balad, Long Stool, and then Welter Reed. That kind of typical route. And when I woke up, I was in Washington, and I didn't know what hit me. First thing I did, I was checking my legs to make sure I had my legs, checking what I could, trying to understand what happened.
Just want to say, since that day, our friendship grew up to a level that we're brothers right now. And this reunion right here, believe it or not, the last time I saw Elmer was almost 10 years ago. We were both living in Puerto Rico. He moved to Florida. I was working back home. I retired last year as a special agent with the Department of Homeland Security. So I was busy. Our kids were growing up with different type of activities all over the place. So we didn't have the chance to, even though we communicate via messages and phone, but this is the first time we saw each other almost in the last 10 years. When we came back from Iraq, I decided to follow his path, and that's the way I call it. I jumped to the dark side and became an officer. Sorry for the officers here, but the NCOs they're in charge of the Army. And something that I found probably funny. He had to retire as a captain, and I retired in 2013 as a captain. So both, end up being commanders and captains before we retire.
I was telling Angel that I still outrank him because I have more time in rank, so he still needs to remember that. So I don't want to take much time, but I was gonna just basically jump into CreatiVets for a little bit. I had a chance to write a song back in 2020 with Johnny, he's around here somewhere, and Charlie. So they were both helping me write a song. At that time, COVID was going on, so we couldn't do it in person. So I had a chance to do it over the online. So we did it over, I think it was Teams or something like that. A great experience. This time around, we were asked to write another song, and when we had the honor to write it with two amazing Canadian artists. So Eric and Chelsea, thank you so much for spending a lot of time with us, understanding our story, putting a lot of details into that song that really means a lot to us. And we just had a great time. So if you guys have the time to search the organization, spend some time, give yourself a chance to write a song, it's a life-changing opportunity. So without any further ado, I want to introduce Eric. He's gonna share our song with you guys. Thank you.
Hey everyone, how's it going? There we go, it's working. It's my name's Eric Etheridge, and I've been working with CreatiVets since 2019, and it's honestly it's been such an honor to work with veterans. Thank you guys all for your service. It's just it's an honor to work with you guys. So thank you for all you guys have done. This was a really interesting one for us because I've never had the opportunity to write with two veterans at the same time, which was it was interesting because we wanted to write the song from both of their perspectives, and so that was kind of cool. You know, Kelsey, my wife over there, and I, when we were working with them together, we just thought it was so fascinating. They're both from Puerto Rico. They you know kind of went into the army at different times, but ended up in the same spot in Iraq, and it's almost like they were meant to meet and meant to be friends and brothers, and so as we were writing it, we decided on I think we all kind of agreed on the title at the end of it, My Brother. So this song is just we wanted to highlight the experiences that they both went through, kind of on both ends of the situation, but also how just kind of through fate they came together. One being an officer, one being an NCO, and how even though professionally they were on kind of in different roles, like outside of that they were brothers and best friends. So this song is called My Brother. As I write this, Black Hawk's taking you away, and you ain't conscious. But I hope you see the day we're laughing with our kids playing together. I'll keep writing you each day until you're better. It's a nightmare. The Red Sox beat the Yankees. Only got a few more days here till we all get back home safely. Not knowing how you're doing as we shake into my core. I have the Johnny Walker waiting on the Puerto Rican shore. My brother, my friend, always follow you right until the very end. And I'm grateful you had the courage and the backbone to bring our soldiers back. You might be my captain, I might be your NCO. Yeah, we might have a mission, but I know down the road you'll always be my brother, my friend. As I read this, I can't help but feel guilty
of all the things I miss. I didn't die, but it kills me. I couldn't be there when our unit finally made it home. It's kind of bittersweet, I'm here lying all alone. My brother, my friend, you always had my back right until the very end. And I'm grateful you had the courage and the backbone to bring our soldiers back. I might be your captain and you might be my NCO. Yeah, we might have our mission, but I know down the road always be my brother, my friend. We couldn't do what we did without our wives and kids. If it wasn't for the love and grace, no, I might have never met my brother, my friend. You always have my back right until the very end. And I'm grateful you had the courage and the backbone to bring our soldiers back. And I might be your captain, you might be my NCO. Yeah, we might have a mission, but I know down the road you'll always be my brother, my friend.
I'm going to read from my sheet because this is my absolute nightmare of standing up in front of people and speaking. So it's gonna sound like I'm reading from my paper. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand before you today as not as individuals, but as brothers. Brothers who have shared experiences that have shaped, challenged, and at times nearly broken us. My name is Rob Moravsky. I'm a former Army infantryman. I served with Alpha 16 Infantry with 1st Armored Division in Bonhoeffer, Germany. This is where I met Richard, and we were more than just soldiers, we were friends, spending most of our off-duty time exploring Germany and creating lasting memories. But in 2006, our lives changed forever when we were deployed to Iraq.
I am Richard Reno, as Rob said. I was part of a small kill team in a mission in hit Iraq, a hostile environment where attacks against American-led forces were at an all-time high. Literally multiple times a day, combat, mortars, IEDs, everything. I witnessed a horrifying scene from a second-story building on that fateful day. An Abrams tank was hit by an anti-tank mine, killing the driver and severely injuring the crew. The local crowd rejoiced at the sight, which still haunts me to this day.
Meanwhile, I was a squad automatic gunner, part of a quick reaction force team that arrived at the scene. And amidst all the chaos, a sniper shot me in the face, causing me to lose my eye and inflicting severe damage to my face. And Richard, from his position, saw everything. I was medevaced out of Iraq, and we never saw each other again while we were in service. The aftermath of that day has left us both grappling with PTSD, and I fell into deep depression, isolating myself and struggling to try to convince myself that I was okay.
and I, Richard, was burdened with guilt, questioning the orders that kept me from rescuing Rob and my fallen comrades. It took 16 years for us to reunite. Thanks to TF for the Troops reunion, this organization has provided us a safe and relaxing environment to reconnect, share our experiences, and learn from each other. We found solace on the golf course, in group chats, and shared other stories with veterans. Our journey is far over. PTSD is a battle we continue to fight every single day. But now we fight it together, leaning on each other for support and using tools we've gained from reunion. We are part of the 7% of military veterans who have PTSD at some point in their lives, and we stand here today and tell you that it's okay to seek help, to share your story, and to lean on your brothers and sisters in arms. We are here to tell you that it's okay to be vulnerable, feel anxious, and fear public speaking, Rob. We are here to tell you that it's okay to repeat your stories and experiences and ask for help when needed. We are here to tell you that it's okay to have PTSD. We are here to tell you that you're not alone. Thank you. So this I didn't write, and I didn't plan on sharing more, but I love how I have a microphone and y'all have to listen to me. So on that particular day, I'm going to go into details, which I didn't even really tell these fantastic people. I was on that small kill team, sitting up on a second-story roof, just providing overwatch, looking for people and placing IEDs, stuff like that, reporting back on the radio. It was nothing supposed to be active, it was just supposed to be, you know, look out the window and tell us what you see type thing. Then this Abrams came around the corner, we're watching it come down the road, and it got hit by an anti-tank gun. So, as we said, it wiped out the driver like you wouldn't believe. Which is funny, because this particular individual, I don't know, have you seen like the movie Thor? Have you ever seen like the most jacked guy you could ever imagine? That's what this driver looked like. He was the most physical, massive person that I was always impressed with, and I never thought that this person could get hurt. It's not possible. This just machine. And he got literally torn into pieces. I mean, actual small chunks of pieces. So we're sitting in this building, and this is me, not Rob. Rob came after. We'll get to that. We're sitting in this building just watching. Okay, we report what we see. Should we go? Should we try to recover, you know, our brothers? Should we try to assist them? Because some of them were still alive. And our command told us, no, you stay here. Do not give away your position. You stay there and you just report what you see. Now this is only out of a second-story window, maybe like 150 yards. Like I can almost go and grab them. And I'm looking out this window and they say, no, you stay there, don't move, just watch, report what you see. This is pretty difficult, I'll be honest with you. Okay, so we're doing what we're told. We're soldiers. That's what we do. We do what we're told. Even if you think that, I don't know if this is what we should be doing. I don't agree, but okay, I'm a soldier. I do what I'm told. So then come about 100, 150 Iraqis come out and start immediately picking up pieces of the tank, trying to recover anything that they can, because once the tank was destroyed, there was, well, in their eyes, there was nobody else there. So they just came like scavengers and started picking everything up. And part of the things that they picked up was this guy's pieces, his arms, his legs. And they were singing and dancing and carrying this down and converging on an intersection where more people were coming from that street and that street and that street, and 100 people turned into 300 people, and they're singing and dancing with this guy, Thor's arm above their head. And I'm looking at them, and we call on the radio, hey, I want to go get this arm. I'm going to do this, you know, and ask permission. Again, they're told us, no, stay there, watch, tell us what you see. So we watch, and we watch, and we watch. And this party seemed to go on for way longer than I'd like to fucking talk about. And eventually, they decided to send QRF, which is, a force coming after the fact to support. So they send Rob. He came out, and they were riding in Bradleys, which, if anybody knows what that is, they're very loud, very big machines. You could hear them coming from miles and miles away. Once they started coming, of course, the party started to disperse. And all I'm doing is watching the guy who has the arm. Because that's the only thing left of Thor. There's the arm, that's the only thing I got. And I'm watching him, and I'm watching him in the crowd as they scatter and they move and they move and they move, and I'm just not taking my eyes off of his arm. Because I'm waiting until I can go and retrieve it. Because I want to bring something home. I can't bring everything home, I want to bring something home. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And then as they get to closer, the ramp of the Bradley drops down, he comes out, and almost immediately gets shot in the face by a sniper. At that point, everybody dispersed. I lost track of the guy with the arm, and it was never recovered. When we talk about regret, my regret in orders, do you know how hard it is for me to deal with that? To know, I did what I was told, but was it right? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I bet his family doesn't think so. Because that American, that hero, was never recovered. And I watched that arm get away and run down the fucking street. And then, after that, my guilt has to do with my friend. If I did at the time what I thought was right, regardless of what I was told, he would have never had to came out. If I went and got that arm when there was only 50, 100 of people not armed, I very easily could have recovered that alone. Of course, we don't work like that. You get my point. Very easily could have gone, taken it, gone back, disappeared. But because I did what I was told, and I stayed there, and I watched, and I reported it, then my friend had to come out and receive his injury. And I will never forget that. And I have guilt on that every single day. And it's just something that you never let go. Did you do the right thing? You did what you were told, but did you do the right thing? So we also made a song with these amazing people here, CreatiVets. And slow down. So when Tim, I got the microphone, we're here all night. So when Tim asked if we would be willing to do, something like this, and I have so much respect for this organization and everybody in this room that I said, yes, I will do anything to help the cause, to help the organization, to anything for you. Of course, like all veterans here, I didn't want to do it. I thought it was a terrible idea. Why? Because I have to talk to people that I don't know about stuff I don't like to talk about. And I carried that feeling, exactly that thought, all the way up until meeting them yesterday. Even maybe about 30 minutes after meeting them yesterday. I was like, this is a bad idea. I don't want to do this. How can I? There's a door. Okay, I'm going to leave on that door. But after going through that process with them, I can't tell you the type of outlet or relief I have on something so amazing, especially since I'm not creative. I don't paint, I don't sing, I can't draw. You want a stick figure, they're gonna have different legs. So to even think beforehand about going through that process, I didn't think it was even possible. Or I didn't even really comprehend that two people could listen to what I talk about and then in such short time come up with something beautiful. I mean, that's even now is just so amazing. That you listen to me for 2-3 hours and then you just, made a song. And it's unreal. And I tell anybody here, if you haven't gone through that process, or even if you haven't ever spoken to this group at an event like this about your story, you should. Because it's gonna change you. That song will change you, change me. Speaking in front of people about things you've gone through will change you for the better. And it's just something that all of us, we need to do. Because it's the only way you're gonna get better. And so now I would like to
invite up
If I may,
Johnny and Heidi.
If I may, real quick, I appreciate the story. If the two of you could talk a little about the heroes behind you that have helped you.
I would say the biggest hero for me, I'm still talking, slow down, is actually Tee Up for the Troops. I've been out of the military for a real long time.
Those two pups
Oh,
behind.
you want to pet the dogs? This is what this is
I
about.
don't.
Okay, I put them back there on purpose so you guys would focus on me and not like googly eyed at my dogs.
I'm thinking about getting one.
Okay. Well, that's another story. Here we go. And so, the first time that I saw Rob after all of these years, after he got medevaced, and again, like our brothers were, they sitting there. My friend got medevaced, and I didn't know what happened to him. They didn't tell us. You know, we put him in a vehicle, he disappeared, and I was still there for 6-7 months. I literally had no idea what happened to him. Years later, I ended up getting a new job, and I had to go work in DC, very close to him. We linked up, and I went over and I saw him. It was very, very nice. I'm sitting across the table from him. We start to have a few drinks. He starts talking, I start talking. Army stories, this, that, the other thing. At one point, I can tell that he starts to get nervous, has anxiety. You know, the physical tells. And at that point, he started spinning his wedding ring like this, because this is his toe. This is Rob's toe. Just spinning it, spinning it, spinning it. And at that moment, I didn't know that Rob had a service dog. I knew that he had dogs, but I literally did not know that he had a service dog. So when he started to get anxious, the dog came over and walked up slowly and started bumping on Rob's leg with his nose. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Cool dog. Okay. But I didn't say anything because I didn't even at the time know what I was looking at. Now, as the evening went on, we're talking, we're this, we're that, we're drinking more, he's talking this and that, and he gets more anxious, more nervous about everything. And Monsoon came over and did it again. And I'm like, I like coincidences, but that's pretty weird. So I asked him, I'm like, can you please just tell me, like, what's going on here? Like, I see that you're getting nervous, I see that you have anxiety, and I see that he's coming over and just, taking your attention away. Just explain to me, please, what's going on. And he did, and he obviously went down like a long story, that this is a service dog, and where he got it, and all of that stuff and stuff and stuff. And he told me at that time, I think that you could really benefit from this. I think that what I have in this, I didn't do that. I think that what I have and your issues, they're pretty similar, and I think that you really, really could benefit from this. So in that moment, he picked up his phone and he called the president of that organization and said, hey, I have a buddy, and I think that he could benefit from a dog. And I would say it was maybe about 6 months later, and anybody who's ever tried to get a service dog knows getting a dog in 6 months, that's unreal. So about 6 months later, I was then paired with my service dog, Jersey. And I can't speak for Rob on this, other than just what I've told you. What they do for us is just so incredible. I mean, they absorb all of us, all of our stressors, all of our everything. And then when we are not feeling well and we need help, they come and remind us with these beautiful puppy dog eyes how much they are there for us. And I'm very, very thankful, not only for Rob, but for basically introducing me to my side chick, as I always tell my wife.
Monsoon is my best friend. He comes everywhere with me, and I didn't realize I could benefit off of a service dog because I didn't think I was that bad, or I felt somebody else could use him more than I could. But after going through so many different types of therapy that just kind of failed or didn't work for me, I started looking at service dogs, and he has changed my life to the point where I can just look at him and it just calms me down. first told you guys, this is my nightmare, but when I'm up here and I'm talking about it, it is just such an incredible bond that you have with this dog, and I mean, I don't know where to go from there, but if nothing else has worked for you, give it a shot. Just give it a shot.
We had a blast golfing and hanging out and chatting last night. I mean, that's really what these rides turned into, is just a bunch of sharing and fellowship, and then a song happens somewhere in the middle of all that. And this is the one we got. They wanted to write something positive. They wanted to write something happy, and we were talking about the things that they didn't know, and because we were asking these questions, and they were having a hard time answering them, and then they started talking about what they did know, and that's how we landed on this. I won't be able to flip that switch that makes me tick. I'm hard to love, hard to deal with. I don't know if I'm changing. Never gonna be that guy that feels alright, shuts his eyes, sleeps through the night. I don't know if I'm worth saving. All I know is I got a job that lets me serve, a good friend that knows my hurt, a second chance I don't deserve. All I know is I got the best dog by my side, a couple kids that make my life, and hands down world's greatest wife. All I know is all I need is already mine. I won't be able to quite undo what's been done to win that war that can't be won. I don't know if I want to. All I know is I got a job that lets me serve, a good friend that knows my hurt, a second chance I don't deserve. All I know is I got the best dog by my side, a couple kids that make my life, and hands down world's greatest wife. All I know is all I need is already mine. It's already mine. All I know is I got a job that lets me serve, a good friend who knows my hurt, a second chance I don't deserve. And all I know is I got the best dog by my side, a couple kids that make my life, and hands down world's greatest wife. All I know is all I need is it's already mine.
Absolutely amazing.
Yes. Wow. Please give another big round of applause to Johnny and Heidi, Kelsey, Eric, and Brett Gillum. Absolutely fantastic. like to just follow up on a little that Brett talked about when he talked about Richard Casper, the founder of CreatiVets. Brett hit it right on the head. I had a chance. Our founder had told me a little bit about Richard, and I was going to be traveling to Nashville. And he said, if you get a chance, take some time to meet Richard. So I met Richard at a hotel. And here's this 6'4", strapping, fit, muscular dude. And I could see this fire that burned inside him that was just completely tamped down. And he stood there and told me how he couldn't even go in a grocery store. And I was pretty new into this position, and I didn't really get it. But he shared with me that the only thing that made him feel whole was when he picked up his guitar. So from that, Richard started CreatiVets. And our organization was so incredibly proud to provide some of the upfront money to get them started and to build something that is truly spectacular. And you witness it here tonight. Unbelievable. Thank you. Richard, Elmer, Angel, thank you for bearing your souls. Thank you for sharing those stories. Another story, last year, Richard, when he got here, we didn't see much emotion, didn't see a smile. We were having one of our breakout sessions, and I was shocked. Richard came up front, and I'm not kidding you, his entire body was shaking. But you shared, and I saw a complete transformation from you at that point. So when I called you earlier this year and I said, hey, would you be willing to do this? Would you be willing to stand up with Rob? And then later on to share your CreatiVets story, and you just jumped right in and said, I'll do it, man. I'm ready. So damn proud of you, brother. So damn proud of you. Next time, we're going to talk a little bit longer about what 3 to 5 minutes means. Or I'm going to have this mic on a little thing that I can reel back. But that was incredible. Thank you for doing all that you did there. I'd like to share a few things. First of all, let's give it up big time for our warrior Emcee, Len Erickson. Thank you, Len. And of course, a special thanks to all of the sponsors, all of the nonprofits, all the supporters who really make this possible. Obviously, we couldn't do it without your incredible support, so a special thanks there. Now, one thing we do after the reunion event is we send out a survey to all of you, and we ask you for your feedback because, I was sitting here talking to Mike Lacey before we got rolling today, and he said, your team is incredible. They make this event better every single year. And part of that is filling out that survey. So I'm going to actually ask you to help me with a little bit of an informal survey tonight, but I don't want you to do anything until I give you the signal, okay? I just got to ask you to help me out here because it's an informal survey. So at this time, I'd like to ask our team, Cheryl, please stand up. Ashley, please stand up. Brian, please stand up. Jody, please stand up. Now, the survey is this. Again, don't do anything until I give you the signal. If you think this team did a good job, not yet. If you think they did a good job, I want you to give them a little golf clap. If you think they did a pretty good job, I'd like you to give them a boisterous round of applause. And if you think they did a great job, blow the roof off this place. So tell them how you feel.
Hey, we like you too.
Well, thank you, Riker. I was going to say, it seems like we got some work to do. Well, thank you. They are an incredible team. And another story is, you saw in one of the videos, Mike the Hammer Stafford. I know people that know him. And Mike came up to me once, and Mike's this good old boy from Mississippi. He's kind of a round, red cheeks. He's got a southern drawl that I can't come close to. But he came up to me once and he said, hey, Tim, we all know what goes on behind the curtain. I said, Mike, what are you talking about? And our whole team had gotten sick that week, getting everything ready for reunion. He just again looked at me and said, Tim, we know what goes on behind the curtain. I said, Mike, are you sneaking into my room and watching me shower, or what's going on here? And he just went on to say, your team worked so incredibly hard to make this experience special for us. And he said, I know sometimes people don't show that appreciation. I want you to know, we know. So I thank you all for giving that applause because they deserve it 100%. Thank you again to our team. Now, as we get to wrapping up this whole thing, it's a really a bittersweet moment. I sat, in so many great conversations and sessions that our warriors had, that our caregivers, spouses had, and there were a lot of takeaways. But I'm always reminded about a few years ago, our warrior Emcee brought forward a quote that has always resonated with me, and I think it really encompasses a lot about this week. And it's a quote from Martin Luther King. And I know many of you have probably heard this, but he said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. So that's what I encourage for each and every one of you as you walk away from this reunion event. Find that light that makes you shine. Find that new mission. We talked about it in the Warrior breakout sessions. Find your new community. Find your new mission. But whatever that is, please just keep moving forward.